Just got to the ramp and we've got the wind coming out of the east. I really want to go sailing today. I'm tempted to try and rig the sail, but I'll definitely be beating into it and then close reaching to get to the base camp. So I know from experience, probably going to regret trying to do that, especially with a pretty heavily laden boat. To play it safe, I'm going to make this leg of the journey under power of oars. I'm just going to be rowing today. When it's time to return, I should have a very favorable breeze and be more or less broad reaching to get back. When I pushed the boat off the trailer, I noticed it was trimmed a little bit too much bow down, so I went ahead and shifted some of the gear aft a little bit, and it's loaded down pretty heavy, but I don't think the gear weighs any more than, say, a single passenger would. So, well, I set out from Eddyville Ferry not knowing what is in store for this journey, and you as the audience member, you can scrub ahead in the video at any time and you can see what's going to happen. But you got to remember, for me, I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm entering into the unknown now. Although I was looking forward to sailing, Mother Nature had different plans for me. And with this type of boat, you really have to be able to roll with the punches. You have to be adaptable. When there's wind, you sail. When there's no wind, that means you're going to be rowing. And that's quite all right with me. I don't mind a little slow journey every now and then.
If you've got nothing new to say, if you please don't back up the check, this train has got to run today. I spent a little time on the mountain, spent a little time on the hill. Heard some say better run away, others say better stand still. I don't know, but I've been told in the heat of the sun a man died of cold. Other hand, I've heard it said it's just as hard with the weight of lead.
I had probably rowed about a mile before I came to the first substantial creek, and so I drifted back in there and kind of scouted it out. I really didn't find a suitable campsite. I considered briefly drifting all the way back to the flats and camping, but chances are it was going to be pretty muddy back there, although it would be nice to have a level campsite on the flats. So I decided to go ahead and make for the next creek and see how that looked.
Codfish bone, and we're bound the way for Australia. So keep her up, my bully, bully boys, all the way, all the way. Keep her up, and don't you make a noise, and we're bound the way for Australia. a hill on a codfish.
It's just water.
And we're bound away for Australia.
Styrofoam. Cornstalk. Skinny stick. Got the boat anchored off of the bow, and then I just kind of backed up with the oars to put tension on the line, and then I've got a line going from the stern that just runs up to a big log on the beach. Got this little night light. It just takes one AAA, a single AAA. It's not very bright, but it does give you a little bit of illumination. It's just kind of just a night light, kind of a little security light. I like to hang it up on a limb just on the edge of the camp. I woke up early the next morning, rekindled the fire, and got the coffee making. It's taken me a while, but I finally mastered the art of making cowboy coffee. For some reason, whenever I first started learning to do that, the kettle would just boil over every time. I don't know what it was, but I finally figured it out. And it's good. You just have to remember to let the grains settle out before you pour it, before you drink it. So after my little scouting mission under oars, I came back to the bank briefly and got all the sailing gear rigged, and then I headed out downwind back to the ramp with a favorable breeze. It was a very light breeze, and I didn't even have the mizzen at this time yet. It was just a little tiny mainsail, loose-footed, no boom, but I was moving. And of course, after I'd got the sailing gear rigged, seemed like the wind was starting to die down. What a surprise. I'd only been underway for about a half an hour, and I'd been keeping an eye on this barge off in the distance. I was getting closer and closer, and then suddenly they did something very unexpected. They turned off to the right and basically put their bow right into the rocks. And they spun around really quick. I thought something must have been wrong because they just kind of came about really quick in the wrong direction on a very narrow part of the channel and just about put their bow right directly into the rocks. At the time, I thought they had run aground maybe, and I ended up kind of hanging out around the barge for a little while because they were actually kind of blocking my path. The extreme end of their bow was just about touching the rocks and on the side where I would have wanted to pass them. And this thing was several hundred feet long, so I was a little bit reluctant to go around to their stern because I didn't know what they were doing, and I was afraid that they may try to back up at any minute. I didn't want to get run over like that, and I didn't know how well they would actually be able to see a little tiny craft like mine. But after hanging around for a while and observing, I finally decided that they were more or less parked and going to sit there for a while. So I decided to squeeze between the tiny space between the rocks and the bow of this immense barge. I managed to get through, and the space was actually much smaller than I thought. I couldn't even actually row. It was so tight. I had to pull the oars in and just kind of pull for a minute to get between the rocks of the bank and this barge. And as I came through that space and started drifting away from them, I was kind of taking a few pictures and just kind of looking at what was going on, trying to figure out what they were doing. And then I was surprised to hear a voice. A guy was like, "Hey, man, what are you doing out here? My boss sent me out to see what's going on." And I was like, "Oh, I'm just floating, you know." And he was like, "Oh, all right." And so I asked him, I was like, "Are y'all grounded out or something?" He said, "Oh, no, we're just doing maintenance." So I was like, okay. I don't know if I really believe that or not, because they were fully loaded. That seems kind of odd to stop at the narrowest part of the channel for miles. This is a really narrow part of the channel, and it's also like right in the middle of the S-curve. So I don't know, but I kind of think that they made a mistake right here, and they had like grounded out or something. Because I saw them a couple times. They had definitely thrown the motors in reverse and were going full throttle, like they were trying to back off of something that they had like run onto a gravel bar. I mean, it seemed like the water is pretty deep right here. They were still in the channel, but just seems like an odd place to choose to stop. So that was about the most excitement I got on the water for this journey, and I still don't know what happened, but it was kind of interesting. And I think I did make the right decision by going around the bow rather than trying to go around their stern, rowing out many hundreds of yards to where they would be less likely to see me. Although apparently they're keeping a pretty good watch if they were that curious about me to notice me and send the deckhand out to see what I was doing.